This is Saturday, September 8th, 2018, with the update on Tropical Storm Florence. Probably going to be a hurricane here over the next 24 hours here. Here's our system. Florence, notice it was getting sheared apart from the north yesterday, and now it's starting to get a little bit more concentric look here. That's a sign of an intensifying tropical system. So we do have our risk going back to a hurricane increasing here as it moves slowly to the westward. The forward speed did slow down. That was expected. It is changing around some of the timing of the forecast here, but nothing significant. But overall, the weakening of the shear and the moving into more favorable sea surface temperatures here, southwest of Bermuda, will lead to intensifying system over the next 2 days here as we get into Sunday and Monday. Here's our frontal system that's draped across Ohio Valley. This is bringing rains to the Ohio Valley all the way up through Pennsylvania, and I'll show you that in a minute. This is the leftover remnants of Gordon. Remember, Gordon was in the northern Gulf here, and then channeled up through Louisiana, slowed and stalled through Arkansas, and now it's somewhere probably right here in southern Indiana, moving into Ohio, bringing the rains into this region for this weekend, as well tropically connected back here to Texas. But the big story here is, again, with Florence. We did have another storm get named Helene off to the right off the screen here, but I'll talk about this focuses on, obviously, Florence. Some of the models today, really impressive with its development. As you can, we'll step through the forecast here, and you can see it coming into your little screen on the right, entering stage right. And notice the strong gradient here, 947 millibars. That's very, very low pressure. It's like 930 is like category 5 and lower. So we're at 940 is definitely looking like a Cat 4 storm. This is a very formidable hurricane. Obviously, no shear and very, very warm sea surface temperatures, 85, 86 degrees, 2 degrees above normal. Because it's been pretty much rain-free and low churn here in the Gulf Stream waters, but very much a strong-looking system here. This is next Wednesday, and I'll step you through what the Europeans doing with it. Sorry, my phone is blowing up here, of course, because it's weather's happening. 117, 1 hour, 120, and there we have a 955 millibar hurricane off the Carolina coast here next Thursday morning. That's more than likely going to be a strong Category 3 low-end 4, or even just a solid 4. And then it plows into the Carolinas, just north of, looks like Wilmington on this run. Again, don't look specifically for this area. There are some model sprays down here into central South Carolina. There are some model sprays off to the north to Norfolk, but we are starting to narrow our window here. So basically, I would say south of Savannah, Georgia, or south of southern South Carolina and points to Florida, you're okay. But anywhere from the South Carolina coast all the way up to southeast Virginia, we're still very much in that watch area. I expect hurricane watches to be posted on sometime on Monday for this area in the East Coast as we get closer to the time frame here. But the other thing I am noticing is notice the forward speed just slowing down and coming to a complete stop. There is no connecting trough here to pick it up, so it sits and spins and rains itself out. I'll show you that at the upper levels. This is the 500 millibar chart showing you the upper level steering flow. And this ridge here that builds to the north is key in our future of Florence's endgame. As we see it build across, and the stronger this is, the more westerly this is, will be into the U.S. The weaker this is, the more north it would pull. And notice it is starting to weaken here on Thursday, so that's where that northward component starts kicking in here on some of the model guidance. So again, where's our lifting trough? It's back here in Seattle. We can't pick a storm up in the East Coast if a trough is back in Seattle. If people are talking about Hurricane Hugo, in terms of location, yeah, I can see that. But Hurricane Hugo had a major Midwest trough that picked it up. It was later in September, picked it up, and then shoved it up into Ohio and then into New England. Again, this is not a shove system. This is a sit and spin, and it's going to look like it's going to sit there for days, potentially leading to some catastrophic flooding. And some of those guidance are showing that here this afternoon. Here's the composite models showing the NHC forecast is now to the south. All the trends today a little bit farther to the north, back here towards the Carolinas. This is the highest probability right in here. This yellow zone right here is where the most likely will be seeing the center of the storm. That's the GFS composite. The European composite, again, showing that northward shift. The actual ensembles are not all the way done. That's why this is not calibrated fully yet. But it did show a northward shift from the NHC. So I expect NHC to pull north and go more towards the southern Wilmington, North Carolina. And it's starting to look like Wilmington could be the center point where, if you remember Hurricane Floyd in 1999, that's where that storm went through and caused tremendous amounts of flooding. Again, the NHC forecast right now is down here. I expect a slight jog to the north on the 5 p.m. update. Okay, thank you. With the next update, again, as they digest these newer models. But the one thing I wanted to show you is, this is like a double whammy here. This is the, let me stop and restart it. This is the total rainfall forecast over the next basically 10 days. And this is tonight's system. This is the leftover of Gordon. Anything in the red here is over 2.5 inches. Anything over purple is 5 inches of rain. So notice Pittsburgh and points of western Pennsylvania getting lots and lots of heavy rain here with this first initial system. Not associated with Florence at all. This is associated with the remnants of Gordon along this the boundary. And then as we step through time here, we'll notice the forecast trend for the storm coming into the picture here on the right-hand side. Just be patient. It's stepping through right now. And there she comes right into here. So we have our already saturated ground here and a major hurricane making the landfall in here. And look at these rainfall totals. 9, 10, 12. And then the next contours will be 20. You'll see 20 inches of rain start showing up on the contour. 17. There's a 17. There's a 20. So this is that slowing of forward motion. I'll stop it right there. I'll put it back at 240. This is showing tremendous amounts of tropical rains. This would be a disaster for North Carolina and Virginia with epic flooding. Last year I was concerned about Harvey and its flooding. This year I am very much concerned about the flooding scenario without this connecting trough. We already have saturated grounds. Obviously, this is the 90-day precip here. We've had, let me zoom in on that. That's too far out. We've already had tremendous amounts of rain in this area this summer, and now this is saying, okay, here comes 20 inches of rain from the tropics. Are you kidding me? This is not good. So there's two stories to this hurricane. One will be the initial wind and surge damage along the coast here for the Category 3 or 4. The next story will be the flooding out as its forward speed slows down and stops. This is what I'm really concerned about for those folks in Virginia, is the flooding inland. Notice it gets as far north as D.C. here. We get that 12-inch marker. So, again, a foot of rain over 2 days of period, we're going to see potential catastrophic flooding inland. So don't focus on the Cat 3, Cat 4, Cat 5 right now if you're living inland. If you're living inland, your risk now is flooding and possibly historic flooding. The risk to the coast, obviously, is with a Category 3, 4, 5 storm down here along the North Carolina Outer Banks. So again, the wind is probably going to be an issue like within 100 miles of inland, but the rain and the flooding rain, this is, again, a high-resolution model that I get access to that shows the 20-inch plus rains all the way up through in here, and that's just not good. Not good at all. So that's your afternoon update. Again, I expect this track to trend farther to the north, still maintaining major category status, and then raining itself out over somewhere in the Carolinas or southern Virginia to the end of the period. That's it for this Saturday afternoon. I'll try to do an update on Sunday. I've got lots more on my plate again. Thank you for your patience. And I'd like to do these video updates because there's a lot going on here, but I want to get the message out of the risk of a 3, 4, 5 along the coast and the major flooding inland. That's it for this afternoon. Have a good evening, and go Penn State.